So, yeah, welcome officially, Lucy. We are recording, just so you know. So, we're talking about the Enneagram and two. So the two is the giver, and again, that's traditionally it's what's wrong with giving? But the problem with the two is the two's out of balance. The two does too much giving. It's like I'll give and I'll give and I'll give to everyone else, and I'll deplete myself, and then I'll actually feel a little bit resentful, and I'll feel a little bit like I've given my power away and a little bit used and abused. And of course, those aren't helpful emotions; those are egoic emotions. So you have to. There's a balance. I mean, the giver needs to give. There's no question. If you're a two, your natural inclination is to give and to love and to be the support for others, and that's how you you express your kind of your preference, shall we say, on the Enneagram scale. But if it gets out of balance, then it can be harmful, just like anything. If you always giving, it's always no, it's not about me, it's about everyone else. Then you'll feel in yourself, look, I'm actually, it's not right. I'm giving away my power here, and it's not really making me happy. Because in the end, what is this all about? You see, is it just about other people's happiness, or is it about your happiness? The giver's too much. Oh no, it's about other people's happiness at my expense. That's sort of often the program. And you need to say, no, it's my happiness first. Because if I'm not happy, how can I really help anyone else be happy? I mean, it's kind of obvious, isn't it? I'm not happy, and yet I'm trying to make everyone else happy. I mean, that's just like dysfunctional. That's never really gonna work. So you need to start saying, and this is the worthiness program. I am worth being happy. I'm enough, and I'm entitled to be happy, and I should be happy, and I'm going to dedicate my life to being happy. That doesn't mean I only serve myself. It's not a self-serving, oh well, I'm just going to do whatever I want. But it's like going within and saying, okay, so what do I need? And then maybe just bring some things into realignment. So instead of the obsessive giving, giving from the place of I'm not worthy and I'm going to really self-flagellate myself with this is not really authentic, is it? That's just the flop, the ego playing itself out.
And then, there's also what gives me joy is being told by this person who's kind of a bit pissed off, like being told that they want something, and then that there's a joy in I can do that. It's quite complex. It's like that feeling that you can actually really facilitate somebody else's joy, and that it will bring you joy to do that. And it's not in itself, it's not incorrect. We do that in communities. But it's I think what I notice in myself is the response. And I can feel it in my body. I know that response when somebody's asking something of me, and there's a kind of insistence and a panic and a kind of pressing from that place that I feel in my body. It's like a charge. Like there's heat that comes. There's a kind of being frozen for a moment, like, oh my God, I've done something wrong. There's that thing. And then there's the relief seems to be, yes, I can do it. I'm really watching that program play out, that.
So is the doing a relief of your flop? So you're feeling the ego arising strongly, and then, I can do something about, what a relief. I can relieve some of that intense egoic energy by doing something.
Because I'll make them happy. They'll be proud of me. They'll like me more. They'll think I'm more reliable. It's really tricksy. It's so tricksy. Because it's not genuinely coming from a place of that of
Unconditional love.
of unconditional, exactly. Yeah,
That's what it's about.
yeah, totally.
You're just playing a program of, oh, well, I'm people pleasing now to get the approval that I
To get
lacked
the approval and the
when I
validation.
was
Yeah,
growing up from
yeah.
father, etc. So now I'll play the pattern, and then when you play the pattern, you play the game. It doesn't help you. It never helps you. It never really serves you. And that's what you got to be really vigilant of. Okay, so what's interesting thing? You can do the same thing. You could do the same thing, but then your motivation is different. If you do it with the Holy Spirit, it's done with a different motivation and intent. Inspiration, we could call it. Okay, no, actually, this really just feels joyful to give. It really just, there's no pattern here. It just feels like absolutely right to help this person. And I feel like from my heart that's, it's not, I want to get something. See, the ego is sneaky because it wants to get something from it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm the giver, but actually I'm trying to get something from this, if you're honest with that.
Definitely.
I'm trying to
Payoff
get
is
approval, the payoff
approval.
that I think I'm missing. So you need to be very aware of those egoic payoffs. Okay, well, okay, that gives me some approval. Oh, then I feel a bit better about myself temporarily. And notice that. And that's just a little self-concept playing out. You're just perpetuating the self-concept of, oh, I'm actually not lovable. And I'm actually not worthy, and that whole pattern. And then but by honoring it and playing it out, you go, yes, it's true. And then it'll repeat because you go, oh, okay, well, that gets her. So bing, someone pushes the button again. Bing, 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 keeps pushing the button. Lucy keeps reacting, and it's got you in the pattern. That's what it wants. And so you got to look at all these patterns in your life and go, oh, okay, so what is actually behind this? Who is the thinker and the doer here? Who is this person? Is it the egoic Lucy, the flop playing itself out, or is this actually, true inspiration? Is this my higher self saying, yes, do that? And this is the discernment, and this is it's not that easy. It takes mind training. I guess so. Which one is true here? It's all about thoughts and emotions and beliefs. Which frequency is true, and you've got to learn to tap in and go, okay, so how am I feeling? As he says, you will know by your feelings. How do I really feel about it? So it requires awareness, and it requires a level of self-honesty that most people don't have, because they just play the program and they don't question the program. The program's been running them for so many years that they can't just zoom out and go, okay, I need to be aware of this program and like what's actually happening here. What are the thoughts? What are the emotions? And let me be very honest. If it is ego, I need to see it clearly, and then do something different. Don't play the pattern. So it might be very helpful for you to say, okay, no. You need to learn to say no sometimes. That's helpful. It interrupts your pattern. Not always. I mean, and there's no, like, a lot of people say, well, just tell me what to do. There's no, unfortunately, that's not the way it works. Because each situation is different. And in the end, Jesus is saying you've got to tap in, you've got to listen to your Holy Spirit. This awareness of oneness will guide you. That's what will tell you moment by moment by moment. And there's no one else who can really do that. So don't give your power away to someone else, because it's in the end, it's your life, it's your unique journey. And the Holy Spirit is the only true guide on that journey. You can tap into that. And in every situation, you'll get the guidance that you need. And then you become the enlightened, powerful, flowing. We admire people like the Jesuses and the Buddhas of the world because they kind of did it. You could see from the effect they had in their lives that they were able to live that way. So it is possible. But in our society, it's pretty rare because, I mean, even in those societies, it was rare. They were rare human beings because they'd really gone within. They'd done this whole self-awareness. They're aware of their thoughts and emotions. They're aware of where it was coming from, and they'd kind of worked it out. They'd figured out, okay, so what is true and what's not. And so then I just choose the truth over and over again, and that guides me, to do some pretty extraordinary things. But we all have that power. We all have it. It's just, will you do the work to uncover the ego, be really honest about it, which you have been. I mean, hats off to you, because you've jumped into this program. It was what, 2 weeks into it, jumped into it and just gone, okay, I'm all in. And you've the key part is that you've done this transformation, like the flipping of flop. That's the engine room. That's where the whole thing is. It's the turning around of, as you say, it's like, oh, I've turned around this fundamental belief about myself that I've had for my entire life. I mean, if that's not life changing, I don't know what is. That's the core of it. Who I believe I am. And so now, yeah, as you say, like, stuff's shifting and changing, and it can feel a little bit uncertain and unsettled. It's like you've taken the one of those kind of shaker things in water, and you've turned it upside down, so everything's like swirling around and kind of, okay, so what's happening here? And the ego doesn't like that. It's because it's change. It likes the status quo, but change is necessary in order to undo it. So once you start this, it's an ongoing process. The 6 weeks is the beginning. At the end of 6 weeks is the end of a beginning. It's a start to a transformation, a new life. And then again, I didn't want to just drop people and say, okay, well, that's it, off you go then into the sunset, good luck. There's a 1-year program. You just carry on, which I intend to run repeatedly over and over, because it's like, okay, well, cycle through it 1 year, see where you get to. Probably, get to another year, you cycle through it again. And this material is so rich, it's the perennial philosophy. Like, you can keep cycling through it. I've cycled through the course 15 times. Just cycle through it. Every time it's like another insight, another level. And well, what else are you going to do with your life? I mean, that's ongoing. You just continuous growth, transformation, back to the higher self. So, I mean, if you continue with that, surely ultimately you must get to the point where, I am actually just able to see the ego very clearly. I'm able to distinguish what it is. I know who I really am. I'm able to stay rooted in that higher self. I'm able to stay calm, peaceful, poised in whatever the situation is. That's mastery of life. And it's an ongoing. No one can say you're going to do that in 6 weeks, but you can get a little breakthrough into it. So, if you like the process, then just continue. And then there's an ongoing process and community and support, and because it's not that easy to do on your own. So, hopefully, the end of this, you'll say, it kind of resonates. It either resonates or it doesn't. There's a frequency. It's like, does it resonate with you? Could this be a regular part of your life? So this is just part of your life. You integrate it in, you do these sessions, and it's part of the ongoing transformation. And we work through the entire Course in Miracles, which is a profound book. I mean, it needs a year of intense study to really get through it, because of the depth of the material and the length of it and so on. It actually needs a year's program to really, get through it properly. And so every day, we're gonna do a lesson, and every day we do the text, and that's the way you get through it. Just little bite-sized chunks, because otherwise it can seem, oh, this whole book. I mean, most people are just like, how am I going to get through all of this on my own? And then I'm reading it, and I'm tuning out. I'm going to sleep. Well, I'm not really understanding. I'm reading a paragraph. I'm like, what did I just read? I don't even like. So it's actually a book, I think, that does quite well with facilitation and guidance because of the nature. So that's the program. Okay, so we have a little look. Doesn't seem like anyone else is joining us today. Katie, yeah. So
somebody might join in. Who knows?
You've got a one-on-one. This sometimes happens. Okay, so let's just have a little look at today's quote and lesson, and then we'll read the lesson. We'll go into some practice.
Glasses.
So, can you see the screen?
I'm just gonna flip you that way and see if I've got it. Oh yeah, that's a bit bigger. Let's see. Yeah, I can make it bigger as well, which is good.
Yeah, I can also make it bigger if you want me to.
This, oh my God, this morning I went to pick up somebody from the airport, And I read this just before I left, and I was just contemplating how completely true that is. And I was coming out of this dream I'd had this morning that was just quite vindictive. Well, you know, the theme of vengeance was like, oh my God, I've been wronged. And this dream shows that I've been wronged, you know, and it's in my psyche that I've been wronged. And just feeling really kind of like, oh my God, even in my dreams, I can't escape the ego just pressing this point, you know, just pressing its point that I need to be angry about this situation, or I need to be vigilant about it, or and it's like, wow, that's something. Yeah, when it shows up in your dreams, I guess whatever your mind is, your dreaming will reflect that. I can see that the self-responsibility to really steer your mind in the direction to make sure you keep returning back to Holy Spirit. It's going to show up in your dreams, right? It's going to, yeah.
Well, as Jesus says, just another form of the dream. Your waking dreams and your sleeping dreams, it's all dreaming. This waking dream seems to be more real, but how would you know? How do you know you're not dreaming? No, you only have your sense perceptions. Right. Sense perceptions tells you, yes, I can see it, feel it, it feels real. So as Morpheus said to Neo, how do you know? What is real? Electrical impulses sent to your brain. Your brain is the interpretive mechanism of all these, electrical impulses. But if the entire thing is happening in your mind, which is what this is saying, you're projecting this and perceiving it simultaneously to create an illusion of a reality that's outside of yourself, which is what he points out today. He's getting quite deep into the metaphysics now, which is great.
So I wanted to just ask about anger in terms of the processing of it. I think we did touch into it a little while ago, but the idea of, if there's a charge that's built up in your body that feels like, you recognize that it's anger, to go and thump the ground, or this is like an old technique of getting the anger out. I remember from like co-counseling days, when you would like basically thump a cushion in front of somebody else as a witness,
punch a punching bag or whatever.
And it's like, okay, that energy wants to go somewhere for sure. It wants to be acknowledged. And it feels quite a crude version to do that, because you're still left with a charge when you've finished. Maybe something has been temporarily relieved, but it feels like there's just an endless sort of supply of that if you look for it. I could thump cushions forever,
Yeah, could be angry forever and thump cushions, and then temporarily. It's projection. You see, so the ego's mechanism of dealing with anything is projection. So let me just bring up this. I think it might be helpful. So we go to the descent into hell diagram. So this whole mechanism here is projection. We've projected out into a dream world, and we projected our anger outwards. This was the ego's mechanism. So it keeps trying to do that. You're now seemingly stuck in the dream as an individual body. It's going to keep getting you to try and project your guilt. It's all projection of guilt outwards. So projection of guilt outwards leads to attack. Right? Accusation, blame, and attack are the projection of guilt outwards. So I'm not the guilty one. You're the guilty one. So a cushion is better than a person. If you go beating up people, you'll end up in jail and you'll get into serious trouble. A cushion, that seems to be okay, but it's the same mechanism of the mind. You're projecting it out onto something, and by the projection, you make it real. You see, because as you say, it's an endless source of it. You want to project your guilt through anger and blame and attack. You can do that endlessly. and you'll feel temporarily relieved because there's a temporary relief. Okay, I've projected my guilt out. I've blamed someone else. I feel better. I'm not the guilty one. They're guilty. But guess what? You just confirmed that guilt is true and real in your own mind. So then you just confirmed the guilt, and now the guilt, that guilt program's still running, very much so. And then another situation arises, and you do the same thing over again, over and over and over again. Project your guilt out, and it just makes the guilt real. It confirms that guilt and sin are real, and therefore you must do something with them. The ego's advice is projected out onto someone else. And of course, that keeps the guilt and attack program going. We cycle through this endlessly. Round and around and around we go. And you're caught up in this red scrum, the red ocean of the ego.
Well, there's also
keep projecting it.
And then there's also okay, if I don't project it out, I can project it in, because I can take it. I can, this is my fault because I've created it. I've created this situation. And then that addiction to the
self-blame.
That shows up in your life. You can really concretize that in very substantial ways, that you don't allow yourself something, or you make sure all the food is eaten up on all the plates so that nobody has to starve somewhere else in the world, or whatever the kind of ritual. We can ritualize that that self-blame. And it's not so the energy of that is still it's still a flame. It's still alive. It's still a flame alive. It sort of doesn't matter whether it goes out or in. It goes out anyway, regardless, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the nature of mind is it extends or projects. This is what Jesus is saying. So, you cannot help but do one or the other. Extension is coming from your source, from love. Projection comes from the ego. So, which you're going to do is up to you. And if you keep projecting, then you just confirm that the false self that's projecting is true, which is exactly what the ego wants. So self-blame, says at some point in the course, self-blame is as much an ego defense as is blaming others, because it's the same mechanism. Blame confirms guilt. So, and that's all the ego is interested in. It confirms your guilt. You are guilty. You are sinful. Oh, therefore, I must be an individual self. I'm not one with pure formless awareness anymore because I have guilt. You see how cunning it is? The whole system just perpetuates itself. It's a thought system, right? It's a system of thought that feeds into itself. So each aspect of the ego's thought system feeds another one. And there's kind of some twisted logic in it. If you accept the fundamental premise as true, the fundamental premise of separation is true, then all of this makes sense. And what Jesus is saying was, well, question the fundamental premise, because that's where it stands or it falls. The fundamental premise of a thought system is not true, then surely the whole thought system must be untrue. That's kind of that's the logic, and you can't really argue with that logic. The logic of the course is flawless. He's just saying, if the fundamental premise is true, you had a single tiny mad false idea, and this kicked off the entire dream that you call human existence and this world and universe, then must be untrue. The whole thing must be untrue. Don't try and make aspects of it true, because that's what we try and do. Oh, well, I'll fudge it. I like that bit, so that's true. But that part's not. I don't like that, so no. I'm saying you can't do that. It's either true or it's not. These are the two categories in your mind. And this is the Holy Spirit's judgment.
Yeah, so even the idea of godliness, if we're kind of going beyond that, okay, I'm going to flip around this whole guilt thing and that I'm guilty. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be godly. I'm going to, like the shadow side of service is being the martyr. Being kind of overly invested in that I must, you know, like show up in the world as love, and this is the only way I know how to show up as love.
Mm. Mm.
It gets really, it is really tricky, isn't it? It's because that the shadow side of that is not being able to receive from life. You know, I must be the one that's giving. I can't receive.
Wow.
I mean, I know that pattern in my own sort of lineage, really, that sense of unworthiness in receiving, and yet the intense giving, which feels like love, you know, it sort of somehow on the outside, and there is love in there for sure, 100%, but it's there's a twist.
Well, it's not 100% love, you see. It's
No,
not pure.
that's true.
It's been twisted.
No. Yeah.
It's been twisted and distorted, which is, of course, what the ego always tries to do. The ego is a distortion of unconditional love. That's gone, oh, okay, so now we don't want this pure unconditional love oneness. We're going to twist it and we create our own version of it. And now we call that special love. Special love is a self-invested love. I'm going to do something, but I want something from it. What
even
can
if it's even if it's just relief and feeling really crap.
Yeah, I feel relief. But if you're honest, that feeds your ego. Oh, okay. Oh, now I feel better about myself because I did something good. Even if you didn't get a direct acknowledgement from the person, in your mind, you go, oh, yeah, okay, but I've helped them. So now I feel better about myself. So it temporarily allays this sense of unworthiness. But the problem is, if you keep saying, I'm going to do something to overcome my unworthiness, then what are you perpetuating? You're perpetuating the unworthiness. I've got to overcome my unworthiness. Okay, you do something. So you don't overcome the ego. You let the ego go. It's a very important distinction.
Yeah.
It's not something like, okay, right, I'm going to struggle to overcome this. There's this big obstacle, but I'm going to be stronger on it. I'm going to overcome it. And it's by grace we're saved. So I'll give you a little story. This might help you from Martin Luther. You know, the guy who's kicked off the Reformation. An interesting guy. So he really struggled with guilt and sin. He came from obviously he was a Catholic priest, and he's in the church, and it's like there's all this heavy guilt sin program. You're guilty, and he just couldn't get his head around. He just couldn't free himself from it. He just felt I'm unworthy of God. I'm a guilty sinner, and he struggled with that his entire life. And then in the Bible, I think it's in one of Paul's letters to the Ephesians. It's the idea that by grace we are saved. I'll bring up the quote. So by grace and not works. And he couldn't get his head around that. It was like a Zen koan for him. He just couldn't process it, and because there was too much guilt. Saved through faith and not by our own efforts or works. Yeah, Ephesians, I was correct. God's word says we are saved by grace through faith in Christ Jesus and not by our own efforts or works. And there we go. Let's bring it up, the direct quote. Okay. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves, it is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Yeah. And the church's whole thing was, no, you're saved by works. And then they had this whole ridiculous thing of, oh, well, you're going to buy indulgences. You can buy your way into heaven. And he was just like, that's just so wrong. That's not true. It's not in scripture. And that was the basis of the whole Reformation, his insight. So he had a mystical experience one night. He sat with us the whole night and he got a breakthrough, and he finally got it. He understood that it's not anything I do that's going to save me. Right? I'm saved by and he saw as the grace of Jesus Christ, because Jesus was like a symbol that he could get his head around. God was too much. But in the end, it's the grace of God, pure formless awareness, this ineffable presence that is there that saves you. And you've just got to accept it. And your guilt and your sin stops you from accepting it. And so he had a little kind of mystic experience, a breakthrough. And then he dedicated his life to this insight. He said, I want to teach people this because I think everyone's missing this. And that was the basis of the entire Reformation. One man's insight into this quote. It's quite extraordinary, really. So the world changes because he's changed his mind fundamentally in that one night to go, okay, I'm seeing that actually because if it's by works, how are we ever going to be saved? It's never going to be enough, is it? I've got to do this. Oh, no, that's not enough. I've got to do more. And it's never ending. Because when is enough enough? When have you done enough to please God and be saved? And of course, that's a system of control. Because someone who holds that carrot and says, oh, follow me, but you've got to do what I say in order to be saved. Then everyone follows down that track. And it's a system of mind control. Really just the ego going, I'll offer you the carrots of salvation, but you're never going to be saved. So seek and never find the answer. And he got an insight that actually we can be saved. And that was the basis of the Reformation, which then underpinned, if you look at history, that underpinned Western democracy. The whole Renaissance, the Reformation, that change in thought fundamentally 500 years ago is what then underpinned subsequent transformation from the church monarchy to a system of Western democracy. Without that change in mind, it wouldn't have happened. And that simply came from an insight like this. Actually, a spiritual insight. By grace, we're saved. You simply have to accept it. So it doesn't matter how much, as the giver, the helper, it doesn't matter how much I do. It's not going to save me. It's the acceptance that I am already saved. I am already whole, complete, perfect, healed. He wouldn't have said it like that, but it's the same thing. It's salvation. I'm saved. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm not guilty. Oh my God, I'm not a guilty sinner. Oh, what a relief that is. I'm not guilty. I'm innocent. And so the letting go, the forgiveness, it just accepts that. It in your own mind, this is just about working with your own beliefs. Okay, I see the belief, I let it go. That belief doesn't serve me. So I just clear the way for pure formless awareness to come more and more into my mind. And then by grace, I'm saved. It just is. It is my true presence. It is who I am. I don't need to do anything to justify it, to validate it. I am that I am. Now, see, if you act from that place, then your acts are pure. Because there's no ego intention there. There's no, I'm gonna do this because I have this guilt and I want to offload. I want to somehow alleviate my guilt. I want to feel better about myself. You do it because what would love do? Love is you. You're love. Love streaming through you. What would love do in the situation? Love would do that. Love would be of service to someone if it can. So yes, I will do it, and it's a total unconditional loving, giving feeling. And there's no distortion to it. It's pure. It's unconditional love. And so you might end up doing the same thing, but your motivation is different. And the quality of it's going to be different for you and the person, because it's how you do it. It's the intent with which it's done. If it's egoic, then it's going to have a dark side. It's going to have a shadow side. It feeds into your program. And then often what you get is codependency. Because, okay, cool. So I can just push Lucy's button. Lucy will jump around. She'll do what I want. Bing, great. So I've got a slave, basically. I can just push the button and I can get whatever I want. That's not helpful for them or you to play a codependency pattern at all. So the spirit might say, okay, well, Lucy, don't do that. No, actually say something and say, no, I'm not going to do that. And this is the reason why I'm not going to do it, because it's actually it's feeding an unhealthy pattern and I need to break it. So love doesn't always look like love. We do these things. Well, I'll give you an example in my family. My mother keeps feeding my brother. My brother's not really doing anything. He's unemployed, and so she keeps feeding him, financially, and go, oh shame, poor you, and it's just codependency. He's never gonna become self-empowered. So she's going, I'm loving him, but not really, because it's a pattern that's going to make him codependent and disempowered. And then what happens when she's gone? Well, she's in her mid-80s. She's not going to last forever. What then? How's he going to deal with that then? Because she's fostered this codependency pattern on her. And so that's not love at all. Love would go, no, okay, actually, I'm going to teach you to stand on your own feet. And that may look like it's tough to start with because I've got to cut the umbilical cord, but how else am I going to do it? But she won't do it because it feeds her own pattern. See, this code, so that's how it works. And then you look at it and you go, well, until she's willing to let that go and go, yes, okay, actually, I must do what is right, what's unconditionally loving in this instance, which may be a harder choice. It doesn't always look nice and comfortable. Then nothing's going to change.
And so the thing is, for somebody that doesn't have the awareness of that flip, that's really hard, isn't it? Because often there is a resistance to even hearing that
huge resistance
available.
Because you got to look at yourself, you see. If you're going to do this, you've got to look at your own pattern. Okay, so I can see there's guilt there in this instance. There's guilt. Feels guilty. So the way of dealing with it is, oh well, I'll just pay. I'll just do whatever. Because it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
But actually, I've got to deal with the guilt. If I let the guilt go, then I drop the pattern. That means I've got to let go of my self-identity, my self-concept. Oh, okay. So now we're getting into this isn't just minor stuff. Now we're talking about major transformation. Your self-concept is integrally bound up with guilt for most people.
Yeah.
If you look at this system here, what underpins your sense of an individual self? Guilt. Because I really have separated. I'm not one anymore. I have a separate identity, and I'm guilty of destroying oneness. So that's the program. So any sense of an individual self means that you have guilt. And, most people do because they have the idea that they actually are an individual self. And the only way out of the mind is to let it go and say, no, I'm not an individual self. I'm love.
And there's such a setup, isn't there, in terms of war, like constantly sort of exposing us to war in order that we know that people kill each other in the 3D world in war, and that there is an enemy, and it could be any enemy, whichever enemy is being sort of promoted in any given moment. And so by growing in that, you only have to have a war every 100 years or whatever, and probably even less, and the next generation carry that, that sense of sort of hopelessness and fighting, and it's been built in, hasn't it, to how we operate as human beings, that the fear and the attack and the guilt, you don't know where that attack is going to come from, because it's sort of been in the body. It's somehow been embodied in your grandparents or your parents or even the generation beyond that, and it's been passed down through all these patterns, including the pattern of overgiving, to overcompensatory patterns,
which of course make the ego real. So it's always just trying to make itself real. That's its only agenda, and all of this just makes it real. And until you're willing to do what Jesus is saying, say, look, I'm willing to look at it all and question every single value that I have. Right? This is what he's saying. This course requires the willingness to question every single value that you hold. Whoa, okay. That's not a trivial exercise, right? You've got to examine every belief, every value, and say, is this true?
Yeah.
Is it true? Byron Katie's work. Can I absolutely know it's true? And with the ego, you can't. How do you absolutely know for absolute sure that you are an individual self? You don't. You can't say for sure. I have a body. That seems to be evidence of it. But is that absolute truth? Can I absolutely know? So you question everything, and it just all starts. under the questioning of the Holy Spirit, it all starts deconstructing. So you go, this whole system, when you look at it laid out like this, you go, whoa, well, what a piece of work this is, man. Sure. This is a mind job of note. And this is what the ego's done to me. Now I think I'm down the bottom, living as a victim of a unfair world. You know, the unfairness you talked about, the vengeance, it's all part of the system. If you really have been unfairly treated and victimized, then you must be a separate self, because that can only happen to a separate self. It can't happen to pure formless awareness. So we believe this program, and we just keep playing the pattern. And you know, it's like fish in water. So what's the water? The fish goes, I don't understand the question. What is the water? The water's the reality. The water's it. Oh, okay, we'll go up, dive out. Oh, okay. Oh, there's something else called air. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Now I've had a different experience. So it's the same way here. You know, giving you, like, taking you up. Okay, you got some air. Whew, oh, actually, this feels quite good. You know, I'm free of this kind of dense material. But then the pull is to go back into the water and go, okay, we'll go back down, because this is what the ego is familiar with. You know, it's totally familiar with this, and your mind is conditioned to it. It's like, no, don't. There's no other reality. This is it. Forget this stuff. And so it takes a lot of courage and a lot of spiritual energy to break free of it. It's a resident program, if you like, that runs the world. Everyone's part of it. Everyone's part of the system. We're all plugged into the matrix, to use matrix terminology. And you must unplug, as you know, as the movie shows so well. Unplug means you take the thought of separation and you rip it out. You just collapse it. That thought of separation, the plug that plugs you into it, has to go. So one single belief, and your flop is how that belief plays out in your life over and over and over again. So what you did on Sunday was profound. It's like, okay, you start unplugging. That belief is no longer true for you. And then the operating system changes and you feel a bit like, whoa, you know, what's happening here? Because I'm used to operating according to this belief, and now that's not true. Whoa, I feel a bit, you know, all at sea here. But that's normal. It's part of the process of transformation. You have to change your mind from the ego in order to get back to oneness. Because we changed our minds going this way, we have to change our minds to go the other way. In truth, when we get back to pure formless awareness, we go, nothing really ever changed. I was one. I had a dream of separation, had this whole mind-blowing dream, which was scary and fearful, and there were, you know, maybe some parts that I thought were exciting. But when I come back to oneness, I recognize that nothing really happened, because oneness is oneness. It remains as it always was. And the entire thing just is nothing. That's what he's saying. And it's going to take a while to get your head around that. That's not a trivial, like, realization. It's like, oh my God, what is he actually saying here? And this will deconstruct your entire reality. The human life, the human dream, the world, you know, it's all got to go. It's all part of a construct. So we're not talking like minor transformation here. We're talking like total reality change, reality shift into completely opposite reality. Pure formless awareness. I mean, our minds, the ego mind, can't even conceive of that. What is that? How does that even work? No time. How does that work? How do you exist with no time? So this is, it's just preparation. All of these little shifts are little shifts where you're climbing the ladder, you're preparing your mind to finally let go of that idea of separation. And then God takes the final step. You know, by grace we're saved, because it's true. This is true. It always has been, always will be true. And so eventually, when your mind is ready, you simply merge back into it. Just go back there, and that becomes your whole reality again. And there's nothing else. When you're ready. So Jesus knows, look, this is a process. It's taken you so long, 16 billion years. My God, like what a mind job. 16 billion years of this. And now you've got to unwind it all. And if you can do that in one lifetime, that's pretty incredible speed, I would say, compared with 16 billion years of illusion. So it feels like it's playing out over 30, 40 years of a human life, but that's like nothing. It's like a snap of the fingers in the total grand scheme of time. It's like, okay, well, oh, Lucy got it, great, she's go back home. It's like that, done. And that 30 years, but that plays out in your experience in time as, okay, so, there's 30 years of growth and transformation and mind training and so on. But in truth, it's actually going to be really quick. Because once you get this, like, Lucy, I've got bad news for you. Like, once you got this, once you know this, there's no going back. How can you go back to the old life? Because you know it. And it doesn't matter what you try and do and say, I want to unknow it. You know it. There's something else that's arisen. You know there's another way. And so, as Morpheus said to Neo, Neo said, I can't go back, can I? Well, so no, you can't. But would you want to? If you could. Would you really want to plug yourself back into this insane thought system that's going nowhere? Where you're just a slave to a thought system that feeds off you and in the end kills you. I mean, what kind of a life is that? Is that life? Or is it a living hell? Is it a living death? I mean, is that any kind of life at all? It isn't really, is it? So
it really isn't. Like when you look at it like that, it is just a crazy thought. It's like, really? Because at the time, when you're wrapped up in it, when you've merged with it, you just always trying to make justifications for it somehow. But when you see it like this, just so mapped out, so simply, it's like, my God, why would I?
Why would I do that?
Why would I do that to myself or anybody else? That's not love.
Oh, and then it becomes obvious, the choice once you see clearly. So this is why he's talking so much about our perception. See it clearly, see truly what's really going on, because you can see truly. That true awareness then opens the way for choice. Now you can choose to let it go. Once you're aware that this is what's happening, this is the program. Oh, okay, so guilt's playing out now. You're aware of it. Okay, well, I don't have to do that. Actually, there's nothing to feel guilty for. I never really separated. So it's just the Holy Spirit just deconstructs the whole thought system from its roots. There's nothing to feel guilty for because I never really separated. I'm not an individual self. It's an illusion that I think I am a separate person from this person. It's not true.
It's interesting. The first time round I did the Course in Miracles, and I didn't actually complete it. I remember this idea of forgiveness. I had a buddy then who I was studying beside, in a sense, or was kind of close at hand. And there would be situations, and we would say, look, it never happened. But I know. I mean, when I recall that, I was still kind of holding a disbelief somehow. I mean, I could say it and I could feel it, but somehow the roots of that thought or the roots of that undoing hadn't gone so deep. It would almost be like a kind of basking in a blissful something that then would just click, like dump, it would be off again, and I would have to really work quite hard to remember, oh, this is a forgiveness moment, because actually it never really happened. But like approaching the Course the second time round, and in this intensive way, it's like, oh yeah, I feel the roots of that going a bit deeper.
Well, that's where you've got to go. You've got to go into, in the end, all of it's taking you back to pure formless awareness or love. So if you can start really feeling that, saying, yes, okay, I'm starting to get the depth of this. He's taking me into another self, another reality. He's taking me out of this reality entirely. This isn't a little fix-up job. Oh, let's fix your broken world, make it somehow better. He's saying, no, just let it all go. This world's never going to work. There's resistance to that. Because sometimes you go, oh my God, like when you start waking up, what is it you're saying here? This is radical stuff, man. This is like the end. It's the end. It's the doom of the ego. The ego's like, oh God, I've been spotted. I've been rumbled. This is the end. And it's like, oh, okay, defend, whatever. Try and, and so you might find like crazy stuff happening in your mind because it's just defending. It's the bunny in headlights. It's like, whatever, crazy impulses, thoughts, because it's trying its best to maintain its existence in your mind. And all this craziness then surfaces. But that's good because you just don't do anything about it. Just observe it. Go, okay, all right. Whew, wow, okay. Attack thought, anger, fear, hatred, all bubbling up there, churning away, giving you these crazy impulses. Maybe you want to go and hurt someone. You want to hurt yourself. And he's going, just sit with it, right? Don't act on it. Just observe, all right? This is the equanimous. That's why I like the meditation practice is so helpful. Just observe it. All right, so it's blowing through your mind. It's like stuff, crazy thoughts. It's a storm blowing. It's a cloud storm, wind, rain. To use an analogy, it doesn't matter. Just observe it, and it will pass through. And the clouds will clear, and then after every ego storm, there's still the pure, clear blue sky. It's pure formless awareness is still there. Never went anywhere. That's very comforting, isn't it? It's like, okay, it doesn't matter. Let it blow, let the storms rage. It doesn't matter because pure formless awareness is still there. And I just have to go through this process of letting the ego blow itself out. It's just a little storm in a teacup, and it's just going to blow itself out. And what's going to be left is just pure peace. And that's what I really want. So let's have a look at the quote and the lesson, shall we? So really, do you want to read that quote?
Yeah. Anger. So this one, the one with the picture.
Yes. Yeah.
Anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured.
Yeah, so a very true observation from Mark Twain. So anger damages the person being angry more than anyone that the person is feeling angry towards.
Yeah, and this all attack is self-attack.
Yeah.
And damages the person being angry more than anyone he or she is feeling angry towards. I mean, that's such a big lesson, isn't it? It's like you think you can get away with it because you put the anger over there.
Yeah.
And it's just so not true.
Because you're attacking your own mind. You're attacking your own self. Right? This was the split in the mind. We said, I don't want to be God or love or oneness. I want to be something else. So I've got to destroy this. I've got to attack myself, capital self, in order to create another self. So that the foundation of the ego's thought system is an attack on self. Well, then all attack is self-attack, clearly. You just attacked yourself. And you think you get away with it by projecting it out onto someone else, apparently someone else. But actually, you just attacked yourself again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And of course, the more you do that, the more you suffer. You keep attacking yourself, then what do you think is going to happen? You're going to suffer. So then your mind suffers, your body suffers, because all of this then gets embodied. Well, I chose this picture because, I mean, look at what this chap has done to himself. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at what anger has done to him.
Yeah, he's really embodied that whole identity, isn't he?
Yeah.
And it's like there's a kind of wearing it like a badge.
Yeah. Oh, look at my rings and my tattoos, and And it's like you're just harming yourself, dude.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's not a pretty picture. He's quite young there. Just do that for another 10 or 20 years and see what happens. It's not going to be a pretty picture, is it? No, you're not going down a good path here. But you know, the mind, the ego mind, will carry on because it's self-destructive in its nature. It actually wants to kill itself.
Yeah.
So it ultimately will kill the very vessel that is hosting it, which is the body. It doesn't say it. We talked about this yesterday, you know, the ego body illusion. It actually loathes the very home it's made. So then it wants to kill itself. And so then sickness and death are just part of that self-loathing program, which then gets played out in the body.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And then in today's workbook lesson, I mean, he's telling us straight. I mean, as I said, this is getting to some deep metaphysics. Each of your perceptions of external reality is a pictorial representation of your own attack thoughts. Whoa. Just think about that a bit. Each of your perceptions of external reality. Oh, okay, so that's everything I'm perceiving. What I see, feel, touch, taste. He's not just saying sight, he's saying perceptions. Everything I perceive to be external to me is a pictorial representation of your own attack thoughts. Wow. Why? Because it all came from one tiny attack thought, one tiny mad idea that I could be what I'm not. And I attack myself. So he's trying to teach us just how entrenched anger and its related attack thoughts, because anger and attack go hand in hand. How entrenched they are in our minds, and therefore into the seeming reality of our experience in this world. If you're honest, you'll see like so much of your thoughts are attack thoughts. How am I going to defend myself against someone? Oh, this is threatening. You know, that's an attack thought. Whether you're defending or you're attacking, it's the same thing. So sugarcoating this world, it's a projection of guilt, fear, and attack thoughts, is not going to help you find peace. Saying you're never going to find peace by sugarcoating and say, oh well, I'll just try and see the good of this. It's like a thin veneer of icing on a very rotten cake, to use an analogy. That the ego is baked, and it's never going to work. You actually have to undo it at its core, which is the idea of separation, the idea that you actually can be something separate from God or love or oneness. That's the only remedy. There's no other way out of this. Of course, the ego is going to tell you, oh, no, do this, fudge it here, try this, try anything to maintain this whole thought system, but not really fix the problem, which is the thought of separation. And so you just spin your wheels going nowhere. You know, it's the mud. I don't know if you listened to that David Hoffmeister video the other day. He's like, oh, so your wheels are going, you're going faster and faster, and the mud's flying and it's splattering you, and you go, oh, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm getting splattered with mud here. And it's like, but you're doing it to yourself. You're trying to go faster and faster, going nowhere in a dream. It's going nowhere.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. Okay, so there's some. Do you ever watch these, by the way?
Oh, I do, absolutely. Yeah.
You do? Okay,
yeah.
Good. Because I don't know. I put them out there, and it's like there's usually some good stuff in them. So
yeah, really good.
Okay, so let's move on to the lesson then. Do you want to read the main idea in paragraph 1?
I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. The idea for today contains the only way out of fear that will ever succeed. Nothing else will work. Everything else is meaningless. But this way cannot fail. Even thoughts you have made,
every thought.
Every thought you have makes up some segment of the world you see. It is with your thoughts then that we must work, if your perception of the world is ever to be changed.
Mm.
Yeah. Nothing else will work. But this way cannot fail. It's really great, isn't it? It's not like, oh, well, just work it, just have a go and see. It's like,
Yeah.
this
He's
is a
giving
very
us a guarantee here, saying this is going to work.
yes.
And he knows it's going to work because he's done it.
Yeah.
He followed exactly this way. So he's just a way show. He says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. The only way to the Father is through me. What he meant, just follow my way.
Yeah.
There is no other way. Ultimately, all spiritual teachings, although there's many parts, they come down to one thing. Can you let go of your attachment to this world? That's what it comes down to. Whether you follow a Buddhist path to do that, or a Course in Miracles path, or a Sufi mystic path, or Advaita Vedanta, it comes down to the same thing. You must let go of your mental and emotional attachment to this world and to the character that you think you are in this world. And that's the common thing. All spiritual teachings, the authentic ones, say the same thing, just in different ways. Whether you call it detachment or non-attachment in the Buddhist teaching, or forgiveness in A Course in Miracles, or letting go, or surrender, or acceptance. Like, there's many terms for it, but it's the same process of the mind. You must let go of the blocks, as he puts them, to the awareness of love's presence. And he's starting with our thoughts, because he's saying, well, this is what makes up your reality. And wow, what a promise. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I mean, just giving you the whole way out there. Just give up your attack thoughts and you'll escape this whole mess. Okay, one thing I've got to do, just give up my attack thoughts. Because if you give up your attack thoughts, you give it all up. You can't have guilt and sin without attack thoughts. Fear, attack, that's an attack thought. Projection of guilt and sin, attack thought, and so on. So this was an attack thought. We attacked our own reality. That was the start of the separation. Okay, so one little correction you got to make, and you're free. But yeah, easier said than done, isn't it? Okay, just give up all my attack thoughts.
Oh yeah.
Then you're dreaming of that. You're dreaming, and you go, oh my God, I'm dreaming of attack thoughts. I'm not even conscious. I'm dreaming of this because it's so entrenched in our minds.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2.
If the cause of the world you see is attack thoughts, you must learn that it is these thoughts which you do not want. There is no point in lamenting the world. There is no point in trying to change the world. It is incapable of change because it is merely an effect. But there is indeed a point in changing your thoughts about the world. Here you are changing the cause. The effect will change automatically. Wow, that's so beautiful. Yeah.
As he says, seek not to change the world, but seek to change your mind about the world.
Yeah.
Because when you change your mind about the world, you just changed your world. Your world is your perception. What is the world? The world is your perception of it. Your world is made up of your perception of what's going on in a dream world. So instead of trying to change the external and go, well, I'm going to try and adapt the world to me, go, no, I just need to change my perception of this. And I can do that just within my mind. I don't need to do anything external. I can just change my perception. Which, as he's saying, is the only way that's going to work. It's incapable of change because it is merely an effect. So we come back to this integral model, right? We look at this. The interior, individual interior, which is your beliefs, your values, then creates your perceptions of the seeming exterior. Okay, so this is the effect. The exterior is the effect, not the cause. And what the scientific materialist paradigm that everyone believes in, it's like the modern religion, says is no, this is the cause. The external world is the cause. And this is the effect. It's totally upside down. Upside down logic. And then you see the dysfunctions of that logic played out in society. I mean, look at this COVID pandemic. It's upside down logic. The cause is not outside of you, the cause is internal. But if you know that, then you can heal. It's like, well, then I'm not scared of anything because I'm attacking myself here. I'm doing it to myself. My God, okay, stop doing it. Just stop doing it and it'll stop. If everyone did actually do this, then there would be no pandemic. Just be like, this is ridiculous. We're doing it to ourselves. It's not outside in, it's inside out. So it's a deeply empowering and hugely threatening thought system, the ego, the Holy Spirit's thought system to the ego, because it just turns it all around. It says, no, this is just a load of nonsense. It's not true. Which is why they banned Rupert Sheldrake's talk. Interesting. Because he's pushing the buttons saying, this isn't true, guys. Your scientific materialist flatland worldview is not true. And there's good scientific evidence to show that it's not true. And here's why. And I'm a scientist. So I'm actually speaking your language. I'm trained. They go, oh, that shakes up our reality too much. So let's ban the talk. Classic ego defense. Let's not even look at the truth. Let's just obliterate it and continue on in our egoic mindset, because that disturbs the status quo too much. Oh, and then it's pseudoscience. Okay, well, who decides what's pseudo and what's not? Who's choosing there? So interesting how these things play out in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that whole the whole meme of what is it they call it now? If you are a conspiracy theorist, that was developed by the CIA or whoever developed it, so that anything that was contrary to that mainstream view or that very protected,
yes,
totally. And I'm amazed actually the people who show up with that term, because actually you're saying, wait a minute, there can't be another view that we want to look at here, but you're just basically gonna like fire down this, just gonna kind of take the fire hose and like wash the whole thing away, this whole thought system, because it doesn't fit with something that apparently that you haven't even spent 100 hours looking at, whether it's true or not. It's just sort of taking it's so interesting how I'm so curious how people are really swayed by the populace. It's like, well, if everybody else apparently believes this, it must be true.
Be right.
Instead of actually going into your inner world and investigating, or even feeling like, how does it feel in my system when I take this information in? Does it feel true? Do I feel, or is there a part of me that's really doubting it?
But that requires self-awareness and self-inquiry. And if you're not in the habit of doing that, because you're so enslaved by the external world of performance, outcomes, behavior, and you go, well, this is what's real, then you don't want to do that. You're not familiar with doing that. Your mind is not trained to do that. It feels uncomfortable. It feels difficult. So you'll notice, like I've noticed so clearly, and this COVID thing shows you, someone on a spiritual path, a genuine spiritual path or not. Because every single person I've spoken to who's on a genuine spiritual path goes, no way, that's just not, that does not fit with me. It doesn't resonate, immediately, like, no. Whereas people who haven't done that work just go, okay, yes, I'll accept it. And I'll go and I'll just do whatever I need to do because whatever, it's a program. I'll take the vaccine because it's easier. It's too much hassle to think about this myself. Like, you just like, my God, what are you doing? This is your own mind. It's your own life. It's your own body. Although the body's an illusion, it's got to carry you through your life. Like, why would you want to put poison into it? That's not a clever thing to do. If I said take cyanide, everyone's like, oh, no, because that's going to kill you. Yeah, well, slow poison. Don't do stuff that's going to poison it. It can be a useful, helpful instrument for your learning while you're here. So, you need to have some awareness here, and you need to be conscious of choice. And of course, the entire system is designed to say, no, don't choose consciously. Don't go within and examine your feelings and be self-aware and make choices, because then you'll probably choose against the system, because you go, the system is a system of control. and it's not true, and I can't accept the program. So you see just how fundamental this is, this worldview, how fundamental it is to society and history. This is how it plays out. It's all beliefs. It's all coming from, what people believe. If no one believed this, if everyone had said, you know what, no, we don't buy COVID at all. We just don't believe it. We're not going to follow the program. It would have just collapsed. People would have just gone, well, whatever, okay. Even if people were getting sick, people just go, okay, well, they got some flu. So, so what? It happens.
Yeah, it's taken a while for that one to kick in, isn't it? Because, all the stories were, yeah, but so-and-so, all these people have gone to hospital and died. I remember actually going to hospital to pick somebody up who'd broken a collarbone, and the hospital was just completely empty. There was nobody there.
And you're going like, so where's the pandemic then?
Exactly.
It's like
but
all
the whole
these people supposedly
shutdown.
sick and dying. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
an extraordinary hoax, really. Anyway,
yeah.
it's instructive though to look at these things, because you see how everything is. Have you read number 3?
No, not yet.
Yeah. Okay, read number 3.
Read number 3. The world you see is a vengeful world, and everything in it is a symbol of vengeance. Each of your perceptions of external reality is a pictorial representation of your own attack thoughts. One can well ask if this can be called seeing. Is not fantasy a better word for such a process, and hallucination a more appropriate term for the result?
So it's telling us we're hallucinating here. So it's a dream world. And each of your perceptions of external reality is a pictorial representation of your own attack thoughts. Well, if that doesn't rock your world a bit, whoa, what is he saying there? Every single perception of an external world is a pictorial representation of my own attack thoughts. I attack myself, I project it out, I now see an external world. No wonder I feel fearful and I feel like attack in a world of vengeance. Because I'm living in it. I'm living in the projection of it. And now our only hope is to change our perception of it. And as you change perception, you start changing your thoughts about it. And you start changing your fundamental mindset. So instead of perceiving it as a threatening world, you perceive it as nothing. This doesn't have any power to threaten me or to attract me, or this is a nothing thought. Nothing projected outwards. Fantasy and hallucination. Okay, so anything stand out for you in number 3? Make sense?
Makes sense, absolutely. And I think that the quite often we oscillate between the thoughts of fear and the thoughts of peaceful thoughts, but it really is a step further, isn't it, to see this as a world of illusion, not just kind of seeking for the pleasurable moments, amongst the fearful thoughts. Not just kind of like, oh great, I just had a little momentary glimpse of sunshine there, and then for sure the clouds are going to come back again and I'm going to experience that feeling of loss and loneliness or whatever it is. And it's like being a slave to the illusions of those perceptions that are going to inevitably going to crowd in again. It's like, okay, that's the world. This is just a little joyful interlude in a way. But actually to change your mind, to change minds from the mind of the world to the mind of the Holy Spirit is such a profound, enormous shift. So,
which is what he's trying to get us to do here.
To really
see that all of this is not true. The entire domain, this external world, is not true. Right? This world's going to disappear ultimately. The exterior doesn't need to exist. It only exists within a matrix. So the model can be helpful to find your way out of the, of this matrix. But in the end, you're going to collapse this. There's no need for behavior and outcomes and systems and all of this. There's no need for it, because everything lies within you. Kingdom of heaven is within. So this, focus on the individual interior. This is the portal. You go deeper into that. This is the only way you're ever going to escape that quadrant. So you'll notice that the course, pretty much the entire course, is directed at this, a change of mind. He talks about these other things. Miracles can show you, they can be evidence of a change of mind. And it's called A Course in Miracles because we're still dealing within the construct of these 4 quadrants. And the miracles show up in often the exterior quadrants. But he's always saying, change your mind, change your mind. This is what it's about. And then the world will change automatically. Don't try and fix this, which is what we're addicted to. Oh, let's change our behavior. Let's change the systems. Let's create better technology. Oh, yeah, that's going to work. Let's create some better technology. Oh, we'll have faster internet. Oh, that's going to work. And ultimately nothing's going to work because it's the same system. You're still entrenched into the ego system of sin, guilt, fear, and attack, because this is where it all came from. Ultimately, it's all an attack thought projected outwards. Okay, so
Number 4.
Number 4.
You see the world that you have made, but you do not see yourself as the image maker. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause. This is what salvation means. For where is the world you see when its cause is gone? Vision already holds a replacement for everything you think you see now. Loveliness can light your images and so transform them that you will love them, even though they were made of hate, for you will not be making them alone.
Okay.
So, loveliness can light your images and so transform them that you will love them, even though they were made of hate. So is this kind of what I was saying a bit earlier, that if you try and project an idea of loveliness, of, oh, it's lovely, the sun's just come out briefly, then no, that's not what he's saying. And so you transform that you will love them. So you feel that you love them, even though they were made of hate. Like, I don't really think I understand that sentence.
Okay. So what he's asking us to do is to go back to love, oneness, to correct all of our perceptions. So instead of seeing the world as this vengeful world, we let go of the misperceptions. As you let go of all of this, the red scrum, right? It's like the veil of illusion clouding your vision. Then you start to see truly. So it's now your vision is coming from your true mind, from your source. And then you cannot help but see that there's this loveliness that lights your images. So I'll give you an example. I don't know if you read Eckhart Tolle's book, Power of Now. So he talked about in the beginning, in the introduction, he talked about his experience where he kind of passed out. He had this kind of epiphany saying, I can't live with myself anymore. And that thought kind of splits his mind and he goes, into some kind of vortex of energy, and he just passes out. And so his ego is just kind of dropped away, it's collapsed. And then he wakes up the next morning and he's just looking at the same familiar room. He's just in a room and there's light streaming through the window. And he's going, this is incredibly lovely. This is extraordinarily beautiful. Just the light falling on the floor and coming into the room. And he's seeing it with totally new eyes, because all of that, the ego thought system that was clouding his vision has just dropped away. Yeah. And so he's still seeing with the body's eyes. He's still got the mechanism, but the mind is clear and clean. And so now the mind experiences joy in the simplicity of seeing the essence of everything. So we'll get to lesson 29 and 30. God is in everything I see. And then God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. This is what he's trying to say, right? It's in everything you see, because it's in your mind. So it's not out there, it's in your mind. Remember, you projecting this. The image is not out there, the image is in your mind. You're hallucinating. So now your mind is clean. The source of your mind is now pure formless awareness. You identified with that. Then that pure formless awareness now starts to come and underlies all of your perceptions. And you feel that innocence and that purity and that loveliness, as he calls it, just as the underlying foundation of all perception. Because in that innocence and that purity and that loveliness, there's no attack. The attack is gone. The fear and the anger and the hatred and attack is dropped away. And so now you see from a cleaned mind. Remember, the pure formless awareness is the foundation. So you're not trying to see, oh, this is going to make me happy. It's not outside in. Or, I like the sunset, or I like that. That's going to make me happy temporarily. But then, guess what? When I don't have that experience, then I feel somewhat less than. Or, I only feel good when I'm walking in nature. I can't feel okay if I'm just sitting at home quietly, doing nothing or doing housework or whatever, because I need the external experience in order to make me happy. So that's not what he's talking about. He's saying inside out, if you've really gone and you're really tapping into that pure formless awareness, that now becomes the foundation of your perceptions. And so there's no more guilt and fear and anger and hatred clouding your judgments. It's just that pure formless awareness now extending into everything. So God isn't everything I see, because God is in my mind. It's quite profound, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's in my mind. It's the foundation of my awareness. So now it must be in everything I see, because that foundational awareness is the foundation of all my perceptions. So it is in everything I see. Must be in everything I see. It's foundational awareness. How can it not be? This is where he's pointing us. But you must clean your mind of all of your external attachments first. Because as long as you make this world real, then you still believe in the thought system of attack. Because each of your perceptions of external reality is a pictorial representation of your own attack thoughts. He's telling you straight. You keep wanting to believe in this and make it real, then you make the thought system of guilt and sin and fear and attack real. So he's asking us to let it all go, and then yes, your perception, while you still got a body, you'll still continue in that, but now you just perceive it completely differently, and you're not trying to get anything from the world. It's not like, oh, that's going to make me temporarily happy. Okay, so I attach myself to that experience. Oh, a nice sunset makes me feel good. Okay, attached to that experience. Then I don't have the nice sunset. I feel somewhat less than. It's like, no, actually none of it. It's all illusion. And if I can really get that and I clean my mind, then I can experience everything from that clean perception. Oh, sunset. Oh, okay. Like I'm experiencing a loveliness. But the loveliness is not outside of me. The loveliness is within me. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's an inside out. So now I take that loveliness with me into every single situation I'm in. And I perceive it from that point of view. So do you see how profound this is? It's not outside in, it's inside out. You carry this presence of God or love with you wherever you go. It's another course lesson. God goes with you wherever you go. It's with you always. It's your fundamental awareness. Now, wherever you go, could be a lovely scene. You could be seeing a lovely sunset. Or it just could be very ordinary. You're sitting in a car, or you're just shopping, or you cooking, or it doesn't matter. The loveliness is with you.
There's a sense of, speaking of this, there's a sense of naturality, just like, yeah, the world of images, just, it's like, well, this is where it's just the body in a place, the body, rather than judging the value of whatever it is you're seeing or whatever it is you're in. Makes me think of Viktor Frankl in the concentration camp.
Yeah, funny, I thought of that too.
Yeah, it's really making a choice.
Yeah.
that this is love, and finding the beauty in just seeing a cockroach scuttle across the floor.
Yeah. And that's an internal, that's an internal decision. That's a deep connection with your source. And so then you just, even if you're in a concentration camp, you carry that with you. It's still with you. It hasn't gone anywhere. You're not dominated by the outside perceptions anymore. It's an internal reality that's dictating. You say, and we could call this faith. As this thing, by grace you've been saved through faith. This is not from yourselves, as the gift of God, not by works that no one can boast. So there's nothing you do. It's a fundamental change of mind. And it's faith in this and saying, yes, I'm rooted in this pure formless awareness. I'm connected to this. It is my foundation. It is my life. It's my source. It's the foundation of all my perceptions. Now it goes with me wherever I go in the world. And I reinterpret everything I see. This entire red scrum, which on the surface of it is pretty awful, but I can reinterpret it. And these moments of clarity and beauty the beauty within me can shine through into the dream, and I can really experience another world. It's a totally different world compared with what someone who's seeing it from the ego's perspective would see. And so it can become quite a happy dream. Okay, yes, it's not ultimate reality, but why not have a happy dream while you seem to be here, knocking around in a body?
Yes.
And that's part of your correction of your mind. If you can't be happy here, then how on earth are you going to be happy when you've left the world? You're not. The mind
Absolutely.
is. You're still going to be this unhappy self, even though you don't have a body.
I'm just going to be happy as I leave this vehicle, because I need to just plug in. So I'm going to put you on mute, and I'm still here, and I'll just go and plug into inside. So
No
I'm
problem.
still
Then we'll do a meditation, shall we?
Yeah, fantastic.
I'll read number 5 as you're walking, so you can you still listen?
Still listening.
Okay, so the idea for today introduces the thought that you're not trapped in the world you see, because its cause can be changed. This change requires, first, the cause be identified and then let go, so it can be replaced. First 2 steps in this process require your cooperation. The final one does not. Your images have already been replaced. By taking the first 2 steps, you will see that this is so. So he's asking us to look at the cause of the world, which is attack thoughts, right? Thought of separation, thought that I'm not what I truly am. It's an attack on self. That's the cause of the world. Second phase of this is cause be identified and then let go, so it can be replaced. So if you identify the cause as an attack thought, you say, well, actually that's not true. There is no attack thought. I never actually did attack my own reality. I never denied myself. I never denied love. This never happened. So I'm not an individual self guilty for the sin of destroying God or love or oneness. That's not true. And so you let go of the belief. And he's saying that's your responsibility, right? Awareness of the attack thoughts as they show up, and then the willingness to let them go. So you don't believe them anymore. You don't hold them in your mind. You don't think those thoughts. You don't feel those emotions. And then number 5, the third step is doesn't require your cooperation. Your images have already been replaced. So what is he saying there? Images have already been replaced means that God or love or oneness, true reality, has already replaced all of this. Okay? Because it's true. It's foundational reality. Always has been, always will be true. So you don't need to create that. You just need to let go of your misperceptions and your attachment to these false images that the ego's made, and then they will be replaced by this reality of God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness. And then you're home. In the end, the thought of separation drops away, all of its consequences drop away, the entire time-space dream drops away, and you're back in pure formless awareness, which then has replaced all your images. So that's what he's referring to here. It's the ultimate, third step is the ultimate step, where he talks about it, other parts in the course saying God takes the final step. So when you're ready and you've really let go of all of your mental and emotional attachments to the self and the dream and everything it's miscreated, then you simply merge back. Your mind merges back into its source, into pure formless awareness. God takes the final step. It's another way of saying that. It's not like there's a being out there that's now going, okay, but it's that presence just becomes your presence. Your mind is corrected, and you just merge with it. You surrender into it and say, well, there's nothing else I want. Like the idea of separation is just, it's gone. There's no belief in it anymore. So I just merge into that oneness, and I'm home. It's incredibly peaceful and joyful and blissful to go home to that's a state of mind. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the rest is practice. So I'll take you through a little meditation for 20 minutes. How does that sound, Lucy?
Sounds really good. Yeah.
Okay, so just get the recordings going. Start a new recording. Does it help if I split these as well? Because I split them into, so like the meditation is a separate recording so that you can listen to it.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, well, I do that. You notice every session there's 2 or 3 recordings.
Yeah, it's really good actually, because then I can go back and do the meditation.
Yeah. Okay, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, cup your hands in your lap, keep your back straight, close your eyes, and start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, just open your eyes briefly, look around, repeat the idea to yourself. So I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. Now close your eyes, breathe in again. It's a nice full inhale. Feel like the energy is rising up the spine, clench your sphincter muscle. Just notice the subtle sensations of the breath. Bring your mind into the present moment. And now just search your mind with as many attack thoughts as you can find. An attack thought can be just a little bit of anxiety. It's an attack thought. Makes some threat in the world seemingly real. Maybe it's a little bit of irritation, a little bit of anger. Frustration is an attack thought. So don't let any of these thoughts elude you. As each one crosses your mind, say to yourself, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about whatever it is. And then to help you let go of the energy of it, because attack is really just an energy, you exhale and just blow it all out, letting it all go to the nothingness that it really is. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And you just rest. In peace and stillness. For a few moments, appreciate the little gap the gap between words and the gap between breaths. Go into pure formless awareness, beyond the world of attack and fear. Let it pull you in, deeply into itself. Breathe in again. Deep breath into the nose. Notice how the stomach rises. Clench your sphincter muscle, the muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. Lock the energy in. Feel the subtle flow of energy rising up the spine to your heart center. You can put one hand on your heart. Connect with your heart space. Bring your mind completely into the present. Are there any distracting thoughts? Breathe in again, create some space around them, and just observe them. And you'll notice, remember, each of your pictorial representations of the world is a pictorial representation of your attack thoughts, each of your perceptions of external reality. So pretty much any thought that comes up, you can say is an attack thought. Thinking about a person, a place, an object, situation. Just look at it briefly, remind yourself, I can't escape from the world I see, world of illusion, world of attack, vengeance, by giving up attack thoughts about whatever it is, whoever it is. So if there's any kind of threat in your perception, any kind of fear, anxiety, any irritation or frustration, that's an attack thought. Just clean your mind of it now by letting it go. Exhale. Blow it all out. Imagine it's like a dark red smoke. Anger normally symbolizes red, so dark red, blackish, grey, red smoke leaving you out of your mouth. Letting it all go to the nothingness that it really is. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Just rest here. And the peace and the stillness beyond attack. Thoughts beyond the dream of attack and fear and hatred lies pure, formless awareness. And that is your awareness. So just sink into that awareness, allow it to arise. Don't resist it. If you notice any thoughts cropping up, just see them for what they are. Just little distractions, little attack thoughts, attacking the reality of pure, formless awareness. We attacked ourselves, our true self that is one with this pure, formless awareness, that is that awareness. We attacked that, covered our minds, covered this reality, this true awareness, over with all kinds of crazy ideas. Tiny mad idea of separation led to the entire construct we call this world. Seems to justify all these crazy ideas. We seem to really be able to be attacked, to really be able to suffer and die. But all of this is just a product of attack thoughts. And you can't give these up. Say one more time as any thoughts arise, I can't escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about whatever it is or whoever it is. Say that to yourself, blow it away, the breeze of your breath, and sink inwards to the kingdom of heaven, just beyond all attack thoughts. Give yourself the experience of that. merging with that awareness, your own pure formless awareness, your own true self. Give yourself the gift of that experience for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, and be still. Be still and know that you are this presence. You are God. You are the oneness. Not sometime in the past or the future, but right now. Surrender to that knowing for the next 2 minutes of deep silence. Have any thoughts arise to disturb this deep peace? Just observe them casually. Isn't they just like cloud patterns, drifting by? They have no power to obscure the eternal sky, the clear blue sky of your true awareness, or the light of your source that shines through it. So just blow them away with the breeze of your breath and say, I can escape from the world I see. Giving up attack thoughts about whatever it is, whoever it is. All these thoughts just attack your divine reality. Attack the truth that you are pure formless awareness. So just blow them away with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness they really are. Be aware only of the clear blue sky, which is your true awareness. For another minute of deep silence. And so just gently coming back to an awareness of the body and the breath, the senses and the world. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Again, scan your mind one more time. Search your mind for as many thoughts as occur to you. Whatever's there, just use it as a subject for today's mind training idea, which is that I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about whoever or whatever. What you start to notice is that all of your thoughts really attack the reality of pure formless awareness. You're thinking in subject-object terms. I, subject, perceive this object as separate from me. This person is separate from me. You are attacking pure formless awareness, perfect oneness, because you're bringing an idea of something else into it, idea of separation. So just dismiss all thoughts. You can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about whoever or whatever. Ultimately, and letting it all go. Be sure, Jesus says, to include both your thoughts of attacking and of being attacked. Their effects are exactly the same because they are exactly the same. You may not recognize this as yet, but you're asked only to treat them as the same in today's practice periods. We're still at the stage of identifying the cause of the world you see. You finally learn that thoughts of attack and of being attacked are not different. You'll be ready to let the cause go. Attack thoughts are the cause of the world you see. So exhale. When you exhale and you release, blow all of this investment in attack out. Any belief, any attachment to this world makes the attack thoughts real. So you're willing to let it all go, release it all into the nothingness that it really is. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. On the count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Notice what you're touching with your hands. Maybe there's a subtle smell in your nose as you breathe in. Notice that. Maybe a taste in your mouth. Notice that. So you bring your mind back into the world, but in this very present way. Just notice, just observe without judgment. So you're unattached. You're not making any of these sense perceptions real by interpreting them, judging them, labeling them. You simply allow them to be. They just flow through your mind, all these perceptions. And notice that underneath all of these is an awareness. This is your true awareness. That's permanent, that's eternal. It doesn't shift and change moment by moment. That is always there. God goes with you wherever you go. This awareness is with you wherever you go. Love is with you wherever you go. So remind yourself of that. And on the count of 3, open your eyes. Take a minute just to look around. Remind yourself as you look around that I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about everything. If I make any of my perceptions of this world real, I do that by investing emotion with them. So if there's strong emotion around any perception, then that is an attack thought, an attack on true reality. Strong emotion, any emotions that are justified are love, peace, and joy. These are really states of mind, states of being. Emotions I'm talking about are the ego emotions: fear, guilt, sin, attack, hatred, anger, jealousy, irritation, rage, and so on. If you become aware of any of these are attack thoughts, and they're really just attacking yourself. So this lesson is very profound, because he's saying this is your entire escape here. You let go of attack thoughts, then you escape from the world, giving us the escape hatch. So I'm going to look at this timeline diagram briefly, just to end. This is the escape hatch. We are leaving the world through this letting go of attack thoughts, letting go of the interpretation of this timeline that it's attack, and letting it all go into pure formless awareness. And that takes you out of the timeline and back home, which is what he's saying. I can escape from the world, I see, by giving up attack thoughts. So no matter what happens here, you don't have to perceive it as an attack. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of the session. So thank you, Lucy. And,
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you, Jono.
See you tonight, maybe?
I hope to be with you tonight.
Okay. See you a bit later then.
Rain. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Bye. Namaste.
Namaste.